Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Jaishankar. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 24th of March. India stands for peace, no question of linking Russia-Ukraine conflict to trade issues, says Foreign Minister. Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan appeals for support to March 27 power show ahead of no trust vote. And Sri Lankans struggle to obtain food and fuel amid rising inflation. And now for all the details. Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar on Thursday said that India's foreign policy decisions are made in national interest and the country calls for immediate cessation of violence in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Reacting to questions on US describing India's position as somewhat shaky for not imposing sanctions on Russia and its implications on trade, Jaishankar said there is no question of linking the Ukraine situation to issues of trade.
India's foreign policy decisions are made in national interests and guided by the belief that the international order must respect territorial integrity and sovereignty of states. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said on Thursday, adding that New Delhi calls for immediate cessation of violence in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Responding to a question in the parliament on US President Joe Biden describing India's position as somewhat shaky among the Quad countries against the Russian invasion and its possible implications on the India-US trade, Jaishankar said there is no question of linking the Ukraine situation to issues of trade. India's position is based on 6 principles, including that of peace, dialogue and diplomacy, he said, adding that India is in touch with leadership of both Russia and Ukraine.
Indian foreign policy decisions are made in Indian national interest, and we are guided by our thinking, our views, our interests. So there's no question of linking the Ukraine situation to issues of trade.
India is the only major country close to the United States not to have condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine or imposed any sanctions on it. Over the past decade, India has grown closer to the United States in the face of a resurgent China across the border. But Russia, its Cold War ally, remains its biggest arms supplier.
Chief Minister of India's East and West Bengal state Mamata Banerjee on Thursday visited Bogtui village in Birbhum district where 8 people were charred to death after violence erupted over the murder of a political leader of ruling party. Banerjee met the families of the victims and vowed strict actions against those involved.
Chief Minister of India's Eastern West Bengal state Mamata Banerjee on Thursday visited Bogtui village in Birbhum district where 8 people were charred to death. The victims, reportedly including 2 children, died on Tuesday after their houses were set on fire in Rampur Hat area of the district after the alleged murder of Bhadu Sheikh, a leader of the state's ruling TMC Trinamool Congress party. Banerjee met the families of the victims and announced financial aid for the affected families and for rebuilding burnt houses. She also offered jobs to the members of the affected families. The Chief Minister said that police will probe all angles whether the incident had involvement of locals or were there people who came from outside. Describing the killings as heinous, Indian Prime Minister on Wednesday said those responsible for them should not be forgiven. Mamata Banerjee's government has set up a special investigation team to probe the incident. However, India's ruling BJP Bharatiya Janata Party has demanded a central investigation, the sacking of Mamata Banerjee and President's rule. Earlier, TMC delegation led by lawmaker Sudip Bandyopadhyay on Thursday met Interior Minister Amit Shah at the Parliament and urged him to remove the West Bengal governor in view of the Birbhum incident. Bandyopadhyay said that 21 persons have been arrested so far and 15 police officials have been asked to go on leave. He added, no guilty person will be spared.
In news from Pakistan, as Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan is set to face a no-confidence motion in the parliament on Friday, he has called upon the entire nation to participate in his ruling PTI party's power show on March 27. Khan had earlier said he will not resign at any cost and will fight till the last.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan on Thursday in a video message appealed citizens to support his ruling PTI party's power in Islamabad on March 27, a day after he stated that he would not resign at any cost and fight till the last as he faces a no-confidence vote. Khan said that Muslims had been told to stand with good and against evil, and his supporters must do the same. The parliament is slated to hold a special session on Friday to deliberate the no-confidence motion filed by the opposition against PM Khan with a vote in coming days.
कि सारी मेरी कौम 27 तारीख को मेरे साथ निकले सिर्फ एक पैगाम देने के लिए कि हम बदी के साथ नहीं हैं, हम बदी के खिलाफ हैं। हम इस मुल्क में ये जो जुर्म हो रहा है मुल्क की जमहूरियत के खिलाफ, कौम के खिलाफ, अवाम के खिलाफ कि आप चोरी के पैसे से पब्लिक के नुमाइंदों के ज़मीर खरीद रहे हो, कौम इसके खिलाफ है।
Meanwhile, Pakistan's Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmed said that the country might move towards early elections but maintained that PM Khan would defeat the opposition's no-confidence motion. In the 342-member National Assembly, the opposition needs 172 votes to remove Khan. The PTI has 155 members in the House and needs at least 172 lawmakers on its side to remain in power.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in Kabul on Thursday, the highest-level visit by a Chinese official since the Taliban took power last year. Wang met Afghanistan's acting Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi upon his arrival, and the pair held a meeting shortly after. Moving on, the Taliban has postponed the reopening of schools for girls because of a technical issue and a lack of standardized uniforms for students around the country. Backtracking on the announcement that high schools would open for girls, the U-turn took many by surprise on Wednesday, leaving students in tears and drawing condemnation from humanitarian agencies and rights groups at a time when the Taliban administration is seeking international recognition.
16-year-old Khadija went to school on Wednesday, having stayed up all night in excitement after 7 months at home in Afghanistan's capital, Kabul. But she had to return to her home in disappointment after the Taliban suddenly ordered girls' high schools to stay shut. The Taliban postponed the reopening of schools for girls because of a technical issue and a lack of standardized uniforms for students around the country, according to Suhail Shaheen, a senior Taliban member based in Doha.
گرد شدیم جمع شدیم که مامان آمد گریه داشت یک بار گفت من گپ زدن نمیتونم مایک گرفت گفت من گپ زدن نمیتونم ما کل ما به تشویش شدیم چرا به گپ زدن نمیتونم در قدر روز خوش یعنی قدر باید بر ما بگه که خوب شد که آمدین یک بار بر ما گفت پس برین خانه تان چون بر ما اجازه داده نشده که دخترها مکتب بیان یعنی قدر یک گپ خراب بود که موسات بسیار دیگه سر ما یعنی این گپ خراب تیر شد.
The U-turn took many by surprise, leaving students in tears and drawing condemnation from the humanitarian agencies, rights groups and diplomats at a time when the Taliban administration is seeking international recognition. A statement by the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called the decision deeply damaging. The UN spokesperson on communications in Afghanistan, Stefan Dujarric, read his statement on Wednesday.
The de facto authorities' failure to reopen school for girls above the 6th grade, despite repeated commitments, is a profound disappointment and deeply damaging for Afghanistan. The Secretary General says the denial of education not only violates the equal rights of women and girls to education, it also jeopardizes the country's future in view of the tremendous contributions by Afghan women and girls.
The last time the Taliban ruled Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001, they banned female education and most employment. The international community has made the education of girls a key demand for any future recognition of the Taliban administration, which took over the country in August as foreign forces withdrew.
Moving on, Sri Lankans are feeling the growing pain of the country's worst economic crisis in years, which has driven up prices of essentials and triggered shortages of everything from food to fuel. In the past 3 months, fuel prices have increased 3 times, while essential food items have doubled. 42-year-old Thusita Hadaragama stood in a long queue of vehicles, trying to get into the petrol kiosks near his home in Sri Lanka's Minuwangoda town this week, hoping to fill up his tank before the 40 kilometers journey to his work in capital Colombo. Across Sri Lanka, families like Hadaragama are feeling the growing pain of the country's worst economic crisis in years, which has driven up prices of essentials and triggered shortages of everything from food to fuel. Hadaragama is the sole breadwinner of his family, earning a monthly income of $181.82 while working as a driver for a family, which has become unsustainable to feed his family of 5.
සීම අත්දැකීමක් නෑ මේක තමයි මගේ පළවෙනි අත්දැකීම මේ අවුරුදු එකමාර දෙක ඇතුළත තමයි මගේ මේ අත්දැකීම මේ විදිහට අපි අමාරුවෙන් ජීවත් වෙන අත්දැකීම අපි ඒ කියන්නේ ගන්න අපි හොඳ රස්සාව හොඳට පඩිය අපි ගෙවනවා ඒත් ගෙව්වට ඒ ගන්න පඩියට දැන් ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ අද අපි රැට නිදියගෙන උදේට නැගිටිනකොට බඩුව තිබ්බට වඩා එකට වැඩි වෙලා ඉතින් අපි හරි අමාරු ජීවත් වෙන්න අමාරු කියන්නේ ගත්ත පඩියට ගත්ත බඩු ටික දැන් ගන්න බෑ ඒකෙන් භාගයක් අරගන්න තියෙන අපි කන්න වෙන භාගය එළවලු කන්නේම නැහැ ඒ තරමට අපි අමාරු ජීවිතයක් දැන් ගත කරන්නේ රස්සාවේ වරදකුත් නෙමෙයි අපිට හම්බ වෙන පඩියේ වරදකුත් නෙමෙයි.
Historically weak government finances, badly timed tax cuts and the COVID-19 pandemic, which pummeled the tourism industry and foreign remittances, have wreaked havoc on the economy. On Wednesday, thousands of protesters marched through a suburb of Sri Lanka's capital Colombo as anger grew over the worsening economic crisis. The Indian Ocean nation is battling a foreign exchange crisis that forced a currency devaluation and hit payments for essential imports such as food, medicine and fuel, prompting it to turn to the International Monetary Fund for help. Moving on, the third edition of Connect India-Nepal International Entrepreneurship Conclave attracted scores of startup entrepreneurs, investors and experts from both the countries in Nepal's capital Kathmandu on Wednesday. During the day-long event co-organized by India's embassy, Nepal's Minister for Communication and IT Gyanendra Bahadur Karki highlighted various investment-friendly policies to promote startups in Nepal. The event hosted 3 panel discussions with over 15 participants from both countries in each session and exchanged ideas and stories to fight the odds to become successful entrepreneurs. Around 20 startups were also mentored and trained by experts for 9 days prior to the event. Farmers in India's Jammu and Kashmir are elated as their wheat cultivation along the de facto border with Pakistan has bore fruit and is about to reach harvesting stage with government's help. This comes as there has been peace at the border since the militaries of both India and Pakistan announced strict adherence to a ceasefire last year.
Farmers in Kathua district of India's Jammu and Kashmir territory are elated as wheat cultivation on the zero line along the international border with Pakistan has bore fruit. The farming on around 141 acres of land between the border fencing and the zero line was restarted last December, reportedly after 20 years, with the help of Border Security Force, Civil Administration and the Agriculture Department. The locals in the area were provided with seeds, fertilizers and also tractors free of cost under the National Food Security Mission. The harvesting will be done in few days, officials said.
हमें लगाने के लिए बीज दिया अभी मेरे गांव में 4 ट्रैक्टर आए हैं वो एग्रीकल्चर ने दिए डिपार्टमेंट ने दिए हमारे को इस ज़मीन को चलाने के लिए कि ये आबाद रहे तो ये पहले लगती थी हमारे पास साधन भी नहीं थे तो अभी इन्होंने संजोग किया अभी संजोग की वजह से हम सब खुश हैं
हम तो यही चाहते हैं कि सीज पार बना रहे माहौल शांति रहे तो हम भी अपनी फसल आबाद कर सकें इधर तो अगर शांति नहीं होगी तो कहाँ होगा जी इधर
There has been peace at the border since the militaries of both India and Pakistan announced strict adherence to a ceasefire in February 2021. Officials said the local farmers will be given more machinery on subsidized rates to cultivate the remaining land in the area.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.